Continue. It is live mode now.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, all of you. Hello. Good afternoon. Am I audible to all of you? Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello. Am I audible? Okay. I'll start with this lecture. I don't think so whether I can share the screen or not. I'm trying to share it. Is the screen being seen because I'm not able to see it? So let's start with this topic of social learning as given by Albert Bandura. So Albert Bandura was a behavioral theorist or a behavioral scientist, we can say, and he had done a lot of research in this social learning theory. He had actually developed this concept of social learning theory, and before him also behavioral theorists were there who had developed these concepts of classical conditioning and operating conditioning, wherein they actually described how the behavior can be changed with these two kinds of conditioning. And Bandura was a theorist who actually developed two more ideas how to change our behavior. So basically, his focus was on the stimuli and responses in which the mediating processes occur, and also that behavior can be learned through environment through process of observational learning. So his focus was mostly on observational learning. So mostly, according to him, we the children mostly learn from this observational learning. So we observe others, we observe people around us, and then behave in that way. Here also he had given this experiment of Bobo doll, we can say. Now also we can see a lot of children around us. The children are actually influenced by cartoons, because early also there were a lot of reports, if you can actually observe and read around us. These reports were there when these games were been playing. Cartoons, the angry cartoons were there, the angry birds were there. So many of the kids were trying to be aggressive. So people were trying to understand. So there was a lot of research been done, and there was a research actually published in which it was like observe why these children are behaving in a very aggressive way, though the parents and everybody in the family in the house was actually treating the children in a very nice way. And it was found that the observation, the influence of the children, because mostly these children were observing the cartoons and these games, they were mostly involved in these games which were very much aggressive, and the children were becoming aggressive. So observation learning very much similar to this bobo doll experiment. So what had happened in this doll, like the individuals who do the experience or experiment, or actually who show themselves, they are called as models. The way they show the behavior, they are called as models. And children actually shown which way the models have been done. So here a doll was there, a small doll was kept, and this model was there, person was there, who was actually treating the doll in a very bad way. It was the model was actually beating the doll, and some children were kept in that room, and no, nothing was taught to them, but they were observing the behavior of that model. As they were seeing it, as the experiment was being done, and later on a doll was given to the child, and it was observed different category of children were there, different age group children were there, and it got observed that the child was also beating that doll just like the model. So here we can say children pay a lot of attention to this models. So we have models in forms of parents, in form of teachers, in forms of friends, neighbors, the people around us, we can say. And children, nothing is taught to them, but they observe the behavior and they encode their behavior the way the model is behaving. So many times, so here the environment, the surrounding environment around the children actually influence your behavior, influence the way they are going to behave. So this is actually observational learning. And also it is, but then the children don't blindly actually observe the learning, they also think. There is something called as mediational process. So here information processes, that the human beings are very active information processes. The processes have been there, and the child decides whom he is supposed to observe. So many times the child thinks, okay, can I, this behavior is there, can I pick up this behavior? Because nowadays a lot of parents, because we actually wonder how a 1 year old child can actually pick up the phone, he can start the phone, dial the number and talk on the phone. So we see around us a lot of children actually observing and imitating that behavior, but the child doesn't imitate all the behavior. Mostly the child will imitate the behavior, or actually go for the behavior in which he is getting the appreciation. So there are certain mediational processes also as per Bandura. So one is attention. For mediational processes, one is attention. So in attention, actually, the extent to which the child is observing the behavior of another person or the model, we can say. So for the behavior to be imitated, not all the behavior is imitated, but only the behavior which grabs the attention of that child is imitated. So we observe the child, even we observe a lot of behavior on daily basis, but only the behavior which is attention grabbing, which is very much influential, or which actually catches the eye of us ourselves, or even the child actually say, that behavior only the child actually decides to imitate. So your thinking is there. Then retention, how well the behavior is remembered, the memory is required. So here, the behavior, many times the child notices the behavior, but he forgets many things. But if the same behavior is done on a daily basis, then actually the child remembers the behavior and he keeps on actually remembering that behavior. Then reproduction, reproducing means actually how the child is going to imitate that behavior in very much the correct way. The imitation is there, but many times due to certain limitations, the child doesn't produce the correct behavior, but he tries to do that behavior again and again, and the reproduction is done of that behavior. So we also want to reproduce the behavior, but some certain times there are certain limitations, but there is a desire to reproduce that behavior. And then last is motivation. So four things which actually are necessary for this social behavior, social learning behavior, we can say. Motivation is required. So child can actually imitate a behavior, learn, everything is there, but the motivation should also be there. So only when the child is knows that he'll be getting certain awards or rewards, or we can say some reward is given to the child, reinforcement, positive reinforcement is given only then the child is motivated to actually procure that behavior or actually imitate that behavior. So when all these four things are being fulfilled, the child starts to actually follow that behavior. So earlier this theory was called as social learning theory, but then this theory was criticized. Not all behavior can be actually imitated and copied and all. So here Bandura again did some research on this theory, and he said, okay, there is something called as cognition. So cognition or cognitive thinking plays a major role. So we have a lot of cognitive control over behavior. Person actually thinks, the child also thinks. So maybe he is getting punishment for certain kinds of behavior. He will think about it. No, he is not supposed to actually go for that behavior. He is appreciated, then he'll be thinking, okay, I can actually go for this kind of behavior. And because of this means, for example, he actually reproduces or imitates a violent behavior, he might be punished for that. And the thinking is that he actually starts thinking, okay, I'm being punished for this kind of behavior, so I should have a control, I shouldn't actually repeat this behavior. And this actually called as the cognitive thinking. And so he later actually reformed his theory and started to call this theory as social cognitive theory. So actually how the child learns from the social experiences. So observation is there, modification is there, the child is learning many things. So out of learning he also actually understands whether he'll be benefiting from that concept or not, or from that learning or not. And then this concept can be renamed as social cognitive theory. So this is, in short, I would say this is Bandura's social learning theory or social cognitive theory. I hope everybody must have, you must have understood this concept. We'll go, as we have very less time, we'll go to the next concept of our learning, which is actually how to interview an elderly person. So you'll be having this practical about how to interview an elderly person. So interviewing this elderly person, it is a very simple thing. You have to go, and you have to actually you have to interview a elderly person. Very simple things are there in actually interviewing this person. Just as this person's demographic details are to be taken by you. I think most of the points have been given in the slides, earlier slides. I'm not able to find that slide. Most of the concepts are been given in the slides as to how to interview. The basic things are like, you have to ask the demographic details, name, age, then what is the person doing right now, what are he, because if elderly person is there, person mostly will be above 60, a senior citizen. So what he did, what is his basic education, what was his profile, working profile, if the person was working earlier, which post he retired from, and then what he achieved during his life. So many things will be there, so you have to cut short and actually write just the last position. And then which way he is looking towards the old age, how actually he's feeling now, because a person who was working till now up to the age of 60 and all of a sudden he has retired with no power and no responsibilities and no work to do, then how he's supposed, what he thinks about his life now, what he's thinking about aging, or what his plans, because there are certain people, even they are planning, okay, they are very fit physically and mentally. So how they are planning to live their life after retirement, officially after retirement, we can say, because there are certain senior citizens who think that they want to work up to the age of 72 or 75 in official capacity. So what are their plans? How is the physical health? How is the physical health? How mentally good they are? How much responsibilities they can handle more? Here, a rapport has to be built with the person with whom you are going to actually take the interview. After the rapport is built, see, senior citizen mostly they talk very nicely, and if you just can give them a feedback like, okay, I want to take an interview about certain things, so they easily can talk up to. The way you are building up the rapport, the way you are getting connected to that person with whom you are going to take the interview, and if you can explain actually why this interview has is being taken, they can easily answer all your questions. So you have a typical format to write into, and you can write the case history of that senior citizen. And the next point is of theories of intelligence. Yeah, theories of intelligence is a huge topic. We'll start to talk about it. So, what is intelligence? So, what basically is intelligence? We have to know about this. What is intelligence? I don't know whether the PPT has been shared or not. It is not being shared. But what basically is intelligence? We think a person who can, those basically we are having this concept about intelligence is a person who can score very good marks in the examination is considered to be intelligence or is considered to be intelligent. But basically intelligence is beyond that. It is something very complicated. Here a person who has higher level abilities. So level of abilities can be reasoning power, mental representation. Here means calculation. We can do calculation. We can do thinking. We can do problem solving. We can take decisions. We can do abstract reasoning. A person has the ability to learn different languages, different subjects, has the emotional knowledge, or even has emotional intelligence, has creativity. He has the adaptation to meet the demands of the environment in a very effective way. This broadly can be called as intelligence. So there was a psychologist, his name was Sternberg. He defined intelligence. We are just going as per the definition. He defined intelligence as the mental abilities which are necessary for adaptation as well as shaping and selection of any environmental context. So basically, roughly we can say this is the intelligence. So how the study of intelligence started? It was started by Sir Francis Galton, very first person to study about intelligence. Later on, this study of intelligence was developed into different theories, I would say. As we have less time, I'm just sharing the things very fast. So there were many psychologists who had developed different theories about intelligence and this intelligence, because nowadays intelligence IQ test, you must have heard about IQ test as you are studying psychology. Some of you might be in the field of counseling or already doing some counseling or some testing work also. So you basically there is a requirement of conducting IQ test. Many times people are like, okay, there is, because earlier people were not doing much IQ test, but then now, okay, the students have to go for certain higher courses, and then they have to check the IQ. Many times in the school, the child is not performing well, and there is a need to actually understand the child is sent to the counselor, and the counselor actually suggests do IQ test for this child. So why the child is, because it might not be the child is having some other problems, but the child's intelligence might be questionable. And many times, because this intelligence is not only related to the studies or academics, intelligence is of different types. So we have to understand these different theories of intelligence. So, if we can understand these different kinds of intelligence, we can understand, okay, the child might be good at sports, might be good in music, might be good in dancing, might be good in karate or computers and different skills, but maybe he is getting very poor marks in his academics. The parents are like, no, my child is very intelligent, he is very good in communication, he has very good social skills. All these things actually require intelligence. But many times the parents, or sometimes the child also is not able to understand when we actually conduct the IQ test, and many times the IQ levels are less of this child as per our technical way of checking the IQ. And And parents actually come, they actually discuss, and they are like, no, my child is intelligent, but how come you can give less marks, or how come the child can score less on this intelligence scale or IQ scale? So there is something wrong. So for this we have to understand there are different categories of intelligence. So intelligence is not only about related to reading and writing and learning, but intelligence is related to various things. So how different psychologists actually develop this concept of intelligence, we'll try to understand it. So Spearman had developed this concept of two kinds of intelligence. One was general intelligence. He also called this general intelligence as G factor. G factor means general mental ability. So general mental ability means uh, it was actually considering multiple skills about a person. The verbal skills, how good the person can speak, how his good communication verbal skills are. His special skills, now special here means his 3D view. The 3D view is actually considered for driving, mainly for dress designing, for fashion designing, actually to design machines. So everything related to the 3D view is special view. Then numerical skills, we can say how good the person is in calculations, and the mechanical skills. So here general mental ability was been calculated or actually understood. The Spearman was an English psychologist, and he actually used a spectral analysis theory also to actually calculate this general intelligence, which he called as a G factor. So according to him, if a person actually scored very well in one area of intelligent test. For example, child could score very good in mathematics. So if he's scoring very good in mathematics, he can score in other areas also, good in other areas also. So there was a correlation between maybe mathematics and music, something like that. And he actually said there is only a single G factor which represents an individual's general intelligence. Also, he actually developed another thing which is called a second factor, which is called as the S factor. S factor means individual specific ability in one particular area. So there's different particular areas have been given. So mechanical area is there, special area is there, numerical area is there, verbal area is there. A person might be very good in special area, he might be good in the numerical area also. So according to him, intelligence consisted of only two factors. Then there was this psychologist who Thurston. According to him, he developed his own intelligence theory. According to him, there are primary mental abilities. So different mental abilities he actually developed. He challenged the G factor theory. So he developed these seven primary mental abilities. He named them as verbal comprehension, so the communication with comprehension, verbal fluency, the number facility, spatial visualization, perceptual speed, memory, and inductive reasoning. Here, we'll just try to understand what exactly these seven kinds of mental abilities were. The verbal comprehension means ability to understand the meaning of words or concepts or ideas as we go about the comprehension. Then verbal fluency, ability to use the words quickly and the fluency in performing such tasks, solving the anagrams and doing crossword puzzles. Numerical ability, ability to use numbers to quickly answer for the problems. Spatial visualization, ability to visualize and manipulate patterns and forms in space. So spatial visualization, other words we can say the 3D view. Then the perceptual speed, ability to grasp the perceptual details in a very quick way, means to find out the similarity and differences between the stimuli. Memory, ability to recall the information which the person has learned. Then inductive reasoning, ability to actually derive general rules and principles from presented information. So here we can say he also actually developed Thurston also basically considered that intelligence considered both the general ability and also a number of specific ability. Then, after Thurston, Howard Gardner, he actually developed this concept of multiple intelligence. Even today, we have the intelligence concepts or whatever IQ test we are doing. The concepts about multiple intelligence theory is basically developed by this American psychologist named as Howard Gardner. So he actually collected all these kinds of intelligence. He brought all kinds of intelligence under one roof, and he actually developed it in a different way. According to him, there are seven multiple intelligence. As we go, by the terms linguistic IQ is there, then logical IQ is there, logical mathematical IQ is there, intelligence is there, then spatial intelligence is there. Then he actually termed it musical, but musical means emotional intelligence. Then bodily kinesthetic intelligence is also there. Interpersonal and intrapersonal intelligence is also there. And he also has added a naturalist intelligence. Naturalist means observation. As we go by the terms, we'll try to understand what these are. Linguistic means way our language is developed, the way we are able to communicate with others. So there are if we actually get one IQ test, if we just go by the concept of Gardner, and if you just actually able to get the results of IQ test, the linguistics, so we might find maybe the child is not doing good or well in his academics, but is very good in linguistics. His language has been very nicely developed. His communication, he has a hold on his communication. So his social skills also very much developed because of his linguistic skills. Then about the logical skills, maybe he might be scoring less in algebra because algebra is there, geometry is there. The logical intelligence we can say. Here he can actually it means actually how the child can prepare hypotheses and prove them. Here logical intelligence. So maybe a child might be scoring less in mathematics, subject of mathematics, but he might be good in his logical thinking. So here the way, because logical thinking or mathematical thinking, logical thinking is basically required in our day-to-day living. So waiting for small things, just as the child has to go to the school, the child has to do some work, maybe we just have to cook in the house. For all these things, logical thinking is required. Even for us to take severe decisions in life later on, how to actually do a timetable planning for the child. Even when we grow up, we have to actually plan our day. So for this logical and mathematical thinking is required. So here intelligence in a logical way we can say. Then intrapersonal and intrapersonal about it is about self understanding, how good a person can understand his own self, what he's thinking about himself, what are his goals. So a person can understand himself very well, so intelligence is required for this. And also interpersonal. See, interpersonal means here one is the social understanding and also sensing about other people's feelings and motives. So we have to interact with other individuals, other human beings. So here interpersonal intelligence, how good the interpersonal intelligence of the child is there. Then naturalist intelligence here means actually observation, how good the observation of the child is. So here we can say that some child is silently observe others and they pick up many things, just like we said the social learning theory. So how good the observation of the child is. Then about the special intelligence, visualizing the world in a 3D view. So here also the way the child is been developing his intelligence, we can actually decide about the careers of the child. And bodily kinesthetic intelligence, here bodily kinesthetic means gross body activities and the uh, uh, gross body activities and the fine body movements we can say. Gross body activities, here the whole physical activity of the body and also the fine body movements, how good the hand movements are there. So both these activities we can see. So certain professions are there where both the gross body activities and the fine motor movements are required. So if we just take the example of surgeon. So for the surgeon to do operation for long hours, is how good his body activity, the whole body he has to use, and also he has to use the fine movements. So here, how good the intelligence, what is his bodily kinesthetic intelligence of the child, we can understand. Then about the musical intelligence. Musical intelligence means actually we can say the sound, but basically the emotion of that child, how good the emotion is, how emotional he is. Because if the child is too emotional, again there is a problem. He has less emotions, means we can say he is a bit insensitive. Again there is a problem, because today there are a lot of professions which requires good moment of emotions. So here we can say how good the child is in understanding other person emotion and also his own emotions. So these are different kinds of intelligence actually developed by Gardner. Then there was this different again triadic theory of intelligence, which was again developed by Sternberg. So according to him, intelligence has three aspects: analytical intelligence, creative intelligence, and practical intelligence. So analytical means actually intelligence which is applied to analyze or evaluate the problem and arrive at the solution. So this is what traditional IQ test measure actually. So there is a problem, we try to evaluate the problem and find some solution. A simple thing, analysis of intelligence, we can say. Creative intelligence. Creative intelligence means there is something, a person has some problem and the person tries to solve it with in a very different way. So in imagination, with the help of imagination, innovativeness and problem solving. So different way, in a very different way. Not a person doesn't go by the common normal ways of solving the problem, but he goes in a very creative way. So if we see about creative intelligence, we can see this in fashion designing and different aspects, we can say, or designs which are being done at the machine levels. So we see a lot of car designing, automobile designing, two-wheeler designing, or different kinds of designing being done. So how here actually creative intelligence is involved. Then practical intelligence, ability of the individuals to solve the problems in their daily life. So a person finds how to best how to fit themselves, how to find themselves, how to actually see where they are lying, or what is the reality and what is the demand of the environment. So adapting to the demands of environment, they are utilizing the limited knowledge. They make use of their past experiences. Also they start to actually suit themselves for the changing environment. So practical intelligence, we can say. So if I can just give a live example, the pandemic situation which we are facing. So we never were used to never were actually we never actually use these things of social distancing or wearing mask and all. But now, just to actually take protection, just to actually survive in this today's world, just to protect ourselves, first we have to, whenever we are going out, we have to make sure that we have to wear a mask. So person actually is making use of this practical intelligence and then behaving or adapting to the changing atmosphere. There are some more kinds of intelligence. One is emotional intelligence. So in today's world, it is said if you have to be successful, more than IQ, na EQ is required. So emotional intelligence, EQ is actually emotional intelligence. So what is this emotional intelligence? It is the ability to monitor our own emotions and also other person's emotions. So I have to understand my emotions. I have to understand the emotions of other person, and also actually, if I'm able to understand other person's emotions, I actually have to behave in that way. So I have to consider the emotions of other persons, other person, we can say. So if I have to be successful, my EQ level should be very good. So if we are working in the field of psychology, if we are working in the field of medical, we can say, and it is not only medical, any field we are actually working into today, the considering other person as a human being and considering their emotions, yeah, EQ has become important and it will lead us to success. So maybe if I want to actually be in counseling, I have to understand other person's emotions also. So it has different concepts or different levels, we can say, in emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligence consists of self-awareness. I have to understand my own self. Then self-management. I have to actually understand how to do the self-control of myself. I have to be ready to adapt or be flexible to change. I have to have a positive outlook of my life. So self-management, we can say. social awareness should be there. I should have empathy, because empathy, rapport building, this has become very important in today's world. So if I'm just thinking from my patient point of view, or the person who is going to come to me for counseling, I should have empathy. I must be able to build rapport with that person, and then only the other person will open up with me. I should also have that organizational awareness. So if I'm running my own clinic, or if I'm running my own organization, I should be able to understand the social awareness, and I must be able to have that awareness how I can actually manage my own organization. Then relationship management, which is a very important thing. So how relationship management, it is related to each and everything. So my personal life, my personal relations, my social relations, my organization relations, how I can work as a team. If there are any conflicts, how I can manage the conflicts, how I can be an influential leader or an inspirational leader, how I can be a coach, how I can be a mentor. All these things can be considered under relationship management, and all these things actually come under emotional intelligence. Then again, Raymond Cattell, we are going to study about Cattell in detail again. So Cattell also had developed this concept of intelligence. According to him, there are two kinds of intelligence. Fluid intelligence is then something called as crystallized intelligence. So what is this fluid intelligence? So it is that ability to solve the problems in a different venue way, we can say, without referring to the prior knowledge.
Madam, please wait 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, the student is very much student is there, and they
Uh,
are telling that your voice is not clear. But I
voice is
see
not
and
clear.
I check with YouTube, the voice is
Uh,
clear. So other
uh,
student who are complaining that the voice is not clear, please check their network. Second
yeah.
thing, this is a counseling session for Pune only.
Okay.
Anyone from Mumbai, they are not they are okay. They are listening the program, that is okay. But
Hmm.
this session is only for Pune. This is a practical session for Pune only.
Okay.
And the July batch
Hmm.
means July 2020 batch.
Hmm.
They are only listening and see the practical. Do not submit the
Okay.
practical now. There is no need of submit the practical now. The dates and other things are be announcing later. But see the practicals and ask the question in the chat box. Okay. So please listen carefully and then only ask the question. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Okay.
please
Can I
continue,
continue?
madam.
Okay, thank you. So, two types of intelligence as per Cattell: fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. So, fluid intelligence is its ability to solve the problems in a novel way, we can say, without referring to the prior knowledge. Because basically, what we do when there's a problem, we make use of our earlier knowledge, our prior knowledge, and then we try to solve it. But with fluid intelligence, we use logical knowledge, or abstract thinking, we can say. So here, fluid intelligence can be applied to any novel problem. But then, as a person grows old, fluid intelligence increases, and then later in the late 20s, we can say. So maybe in the teenage, the fluid intelligence starts growing, and then start decreasing in the late 20s. So after the age of 20 or 21, the fluid intelligence starts decreasing, because as you see a child which is growing, it tries to solve the problem in a very different way, in a very creative way, we can say. It doesn't have any prior experience only to solve problems of his level. So this is actually called the fluid intelligence. Then intelligence. The crystallized intelligence, in this we use the previously acquired knowledge. So many times we had learned certain things in our school or college, learned certain specific motor skills, our memory, a lot of things we are learning at an early age. And as we grow older, we accumulate more and more knowledge. So we can say crystallized intelligence increases. So as a person grows old, his crystallized intelligence keeps on increasing. And many times we can actually say we are using this crystallized intelligence also. These are the different kinds of intelligence, we can say, different factors, different kinds of intelligence. And based on this, so different intelligence tests were created. So here, intelligent testing or different tests for intelligence. So very first, we can say very famous was this Binet Simon test. So Binet, the French government in 90s, earlier 90s, we can say, the French government had taken the help of the psychologist Alfred Binet to understand about the intelligence of children. So they were actually doing a study about slow learners, and they required more assistance in the classroom as to how to find out the slow learners, how to find out the intelligent person. So here, this intelligence was actually, this scale for intelligence was developed. So Binet, Alfred Binet with his colleague Simon developed a specific set of questions which focused on memory and problem solving skills. But he realized the children were able to answer, some of the children were able to answer the advanced questions than their elderly colleagues, we can say. So later on, this Binet Simon scale, so different kind of scales were developed to measure the intelligence, and a lot of changes are made in the scale, and later on he was started to call it that Binet Simon scale. So Binet Simon scale consists of 30 items designed to measure judgment, comprehension, and reasoning. And later on, again, he reformed the scales. Later on, Stanford Binet intelligence scale was developed. Later on, this Binet Simon scale in United States, there was this Stanford psychologist named as Sternberg, and they actually started to develop a much more developed intelligence scale, and it was called as the Stanford Binet intelligence scale. So here, they had developed 5 features of cognitive ability for measuring the intelligence. It included fluid reasoning, knowledge, quantitative reasoning, visual spatial processing, and working memory. So both verbal and non-verbal responses were measured by this scale. And this by this test, actually, they started to actually, they developed a concept called as intelligent quotient, or IQ, we can say. So the particular score, individual score, was actually developed by this test. Your average score, you if you actually have seen this IQ test, basically average score of this test is 100. The score from 90 to 109 is considered to be average only. So below 70, there was a problem with the intellectual levels, we can say, or mental intelligence is there, mental intelligence, or what we can say special child is there. And now we don't call it as MR, because mostly in short form it is considered to be MR. Mentally, the child is having very less IQ. So below 70, here again, the mental problems are starting. Mental problem means the child doesn't have any other issues or abnormal problems, but his intelligence itself is very less. He is not able to pick up the things. Even his physical growth is not much. So below 70, the scores are there, and above 70. So here again we can say even above 70, from 70 to 80 or 85, or max we can say 90. If the child is having this scoring up to IQ up to at least up to 80 or 85, from 70 to 80 or 85, still it is below average. And the child finds it difficult to pick up the academics. He might be good in his communication, he might be good in his social skills, he might be good in his bodily kinesthetic or sports, we can say, but maybe his academics levels might be very less. So maybe he can learn his mother tongue, then he might be finding it very difficult to learn a second language. Because when I actually conduct this IQ test in the children, I always observe these things. The child who's having below average scoring in IQ, mostly his academic scoring is less, and as his academic scoring is less, he might be very good. He's very good in sports. Sometimes he is very good in this drawings or some creative aspects, we can say. He might be good in singing, he might be good in observation, he might be good in linguistics. But because for this the parents are not ready to accept that the child has a bit kind of low intelligence. But for him to do any logical calculation, to do any mathematical work, is difficult, we can say. So for any person to be very successful in academics, minimum score required is 90, we can say minimum 90 to 109, we can say. This is the average score, average intelligence required for academics. above 110 we can say the child is having about 110 to 119, or we can say 120. The child is having high average, because there is something called as low average, there is something called as high average. So 110 to 119 interpretation is high average. More than 119 means 120 to 129 or 130 also, it is considered to be superior, very superior. And beyond that, because there are children who score more than 130, so they can be called as genius. So problem child who actually has a IQ beyond 130 or beyond 120, 125, and a child who's having IQ beyond 70 or maybe beyond 80 also. In both cases, we have to do much more counseling, because a child who is having more IQ, we might say the memory of the child is very good, but for that child it is like, okay, he goes and studies in the school, but he picks up the things very fast. And then what to do in the other time, like he picks up the knowledge is very fast, and for that we have to keep the child very much occupied. So here we have to check his IQ levels, maybe very less or too much of IQ. Again, actually creates problems in the child and has behavioral problems. Then how to calculate this IQ? The student's mental age is divided by his actual, or what we can say, chronological age, and the result is multiplied by 100. So if mental age is equal to your chronological age, a person might have IQ of 100, which is average, we can say. But mental age is 12. Now, what is this mental age? The scoring of that result. So mental age is 12, and chronological age as per the date of birth is 10. So person might have above average IQ, that is 120 also. This was one kind of Stanford Binet intelligence scale was developed. Also, we have different intelligence tests or scales. So after Stanford Binet, American psychologist David Wechsler actually developed a new tool to measure the intelligence, because there were certain limitations in Stanford Binet test. So he developed a new tool, and we called it as Wechsler's intelligence scale. So different scales were developed. So there were Wechsler's intelligence scale for children, Wechsler's adult intelligence scale. Also, there was Wechsler's intelligence scale for adults. So the different age group, different IQ tests were developed, and the cognitive ability and the intelligence in the child were actually measured by this Wechsler's intelligence scale. The norms were from the age of 6 and 16. So now also, when we are using the Wechsler's intelligence scale, it is measured for the child between 6 and 16. So this actually gives us a very much a correct scoring. And many times, if we see, okay, because many times the parents are not happy with the scores of the child by one test, they go to multiple counselors and try to measure the scale. And many times, if the child is having less than 70, the IQ is less than 70, mostly the IQ will remain same, because whichever scale we measure by, that might there might be a small difference between the scoring range, but very much the IQ remains the same, and it is the same throughout the years. So maybe the child is 10 years old, the IQ is measured, the child becomes 20 years old, again the IQ is measured. Maybe the child has gained some experience, but still the IQ will mostly not change, it will remain the same. Because many times we hear in the market कि by using certain medicines the IQ can be changed, but mostly the IQ cannot be changed. We can actually develop the child in making what we can say, that we can develop practical knowledge of the child. We can make the child behave in a very smart way to deal with the world. So adaptation of the child, we can say, can be changed or can be developed. So maybe his linguistics can be developed, his perception, his reasoning can be developed, but basically the intelligence of the child remains the same. So this is about intelligence testing. If you are using any intelligence test or any IQ test to measure the IQ test, you have to check the reliability and the validity of the test. So if the validity and the reliability is questionable of any intelligent test, it is difficult for us to use that test. So it is not only about the IQ test. If you are using any test, you are conducting any test, first we have to actually check the standardization of the test. Standardization includes the norms of the test, what is the age group. So maybe you are actually wants to conduct the test on a child of 18 years old or maybe 17 years old, and this particular test is only of 16 years old. You have to actually find out that test, the IQ test, or maybe the test which is as per that age norms, we can say. Next is you have to check the reliability and also the validity. The reliability, because if we are, the reliability and validity should be more than 50% or 60%, then only you can actually understand whether the test is good or not. Because there are a lot of tests available in the market, but only you have to use a much more reliable and a much more valid test for the for anybody on whom you're going to conduct the test. But if you're going to check the IQ of the test, you have to check the reliability and validity more. So this is about the IQ testing. We have to study about locus of control and also cattle 16 PF. We have to conduct this test. So can we take a break right now? How it is? Hello. We continue with the next topic of locus of control. This is actually a personality test. We'll be having cattle 16 PF. We are having locus of control and also halo effect experiment. We'll try to understand this concepts first. So, locus of control, as this term was developed by Julian Rotter in 1966. So, this is actually a personality test. We can understand our own personality. So, according to Rotter, we are having internal or external kinds of locus of control or personalities, we can say, or beliefs, we can say. Reinforcement beliefs are there. The way we think, either we, it points out whether we a person who thinks in the internal way or in external way, we can say. So intrapersonality or internal personality or internal beliefs, it means what, everything whatever happens in my life, it is because of me. I am taking my own responsibilities. I am not actually believing in some external things. So maybe whatever I am doing, so if I'm getting marks, whatever marks I'm getting in my examination, it is because of me, because of my own efforts. Uh, I actually, whatever hard work I do, whatever success I get, it is because of all this, because of myself. So I don't believe in anything external. I believe in myself. I believe in my own potential. So this actually shows the internal personality. External means everything external. So maybe whatever success I have got, maybe I passed in the examination because there was good luck. Maybe I have got something because there was a chance of getting it. My scars were very good. So here we can say how we are understanding this, our own beliefs, how my personality is. You can solve these questions. These questions are available on the website of IGNO also. But also I'm sharing this locus of control. You can actually see these questions. You can see these questions. If you have a notebook and pen, you can start solving it. So before actually I'll try to explain you how a test is being conducted. Now I'm showing you the questions. But before the questions have been shown, so if you are conducting this on the subject, if you have not seen the lab of psychology, how the things have been done, you have to have two sets of questions. So if I am solving these questions of locus of control, I have to get a subject. And now the norm for this is any person who is above 16, I can conduct this test on this subject. The person who does the research is called as the experimenter, and the person on whom the experiment is going to be conducted is called as the subject. So I have to get him in controlled condition. So I have to get him in that cabin where the testing is being conducted. I don't know whether we have seen the cabin where the testing is being conducted. There is a simple room, ventilation is there, light is there, and one small table is kept over there. There is nothing much things kept on the table. The experimenter sits on one side. The subject is being made to sit on the other side of the table. Things are being comfortable. There is a rapport developed with the subject first. So simple thing starts with like, okay, what is your name? What is your age? What is the person doing? So maybe the subject is of 18 years old. I'm just taking an example. He's of 18 years old. We can ask, okay, what the person is doing. If he's going to the college, which college, what are his goals, what are his hobbies, and we can just make the atmosphere comfortable. And later on, we can explain to him, okay, we have got you here because we just want to do one psychological test on you. We are not supposed to give out what a test is about. So if I tell, okay, we are going to measure your personality by conducting this, child will, the person will not give a correct answer. Correct answer in the sense he'll be trying to give a very good answer for this. So we won't make those correct scores. So if I'm taking the IQ test, we can actually tell the person, okay, you are having certain problems in your school, maybe you are not able to do your studies well, every person is shouting at you. So we are just doing one test by which we can actually help you out. The locus of control, this is actually a personality test. So I can tell the person, the subject actually, okay, this is actually a test by which you can understand more. So I don't have to use specific person word like personality. You can understand yourself more. It will give you yourself a good understanding of your life. The locus of control I have mentioned here, the name is mentioned. So I'm not supposed to mention the name when I'm giving the test in the person's hand. So two papers will be there. One test is in my hand, the other test is in the subject's hand. And when I'm giving this subject the test has to be covered. The test has to be covered. Here I'm showing the questions because many times when the person is seeing the questions, he's thinking about the answers and he might give a biased answer. So the first page of the test has to be covered, and you have to tell the subject, I'll be reading you the instructions. When I tell, okay, you are supposed to actually, you're supposed to actually read and understand my instructions. And when I tell to read the question, at that time only you are supposed to read the question and give a response. Don't think much about the question. If you're not able to understand anything, please ask me. So this mostly are the common instructions as we see over here. The instruction is there are no right and each statement is true or false for you. There are no right or wrong answers. This much only, because again the explanation is given. The survey will give you an idea about where you stand on the locus of control personality dimension. We are not supposed to actually give this details to the subject. This is for our own understanding. So here I have to prepare this, and as you have got these questions, you can actually start noting the answers for this. You can actually write in your notebook true and false. So just actually start writing it. If you really want to understand any test, first try to conduct that test on yourself, the your own subject. So here, first question, whether it is true or false, just write it out. Just write it is true or false. Just put a tick mark. So write from question 1 to 10 on one side. You can just write it. You can have these columns of true and false, and you can just put a tick mark under it. If you're not able to understand the question, read the question again and try to understand the meaning of it. Whichever answer you are able to get fast, so whichever option you think, no, this is my answer, this is true or this is false, immediately answer the question. Don't think too much. If you think too much, you might get a wrong answer. to the next question. So there are about 20 questions. You can read all the questions and just give the answers up to 20. I think you'll get enough time to give the answers. It hardly take 5 minutes, I think. So max 5 minutes, not more than that. Maximum at 7 minutes. 5 minutes to 7 minutes, the person must be able to solve. If the person is taking too much time, then the person is thinking too much. I think most of you must have completed the test. How to do the scoring of the test? Very easy. Here again, you have to give yourself 5 points for each questions for whichever questions were there in the F list, false list, we can say. So if you have indicated false as per the questions, your questions are there. Question number 2, 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 19, and 20. So for these questions, you have given a false answer. You have to give 5 marks or 5 points for it. Again, I'll repeat question number 2, 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 19, 20. So for this, you have to give 5 marks. This is for the false questions. Answers are false for these questions. So you have to just write it out 5. Give 5 marks for this particular questions. The next, the answers are indicated true on this question. The first section we can say. So question number 1, 4, 7, 8, 11, 15, 17, and 18. So for this, you have to give 5 marks again for yourself. So question number 1, 4, 7, 8, 11, 15, 17, 18. For this, you can actually give 5 marks for yourself. And then the interpretation of the scoring. So just total yourself, total the scoring about true and false questions. 5 marks. Your interpretation is there. So 0 to 15, if you have scored between 0 to 15, you have a very strong external locus of control. So as I had said, locus of control, external locus of control. Person believes, totally believes in the external things. So luck is there, chance is there, other external things are there. Whatever happens in my life, good or bad, it is because of the other external person or other external things we can see. Then scoring between 20 to 35. This is average or normal, we can say, external locus of control. Scoring between 40 to 60. Both external and internal locus of control. The person might be having both external and internal locus of control. So we can say he's equivalent on both external and internal locus of control. Scoring between 65 to 80. The person is having internal locus of control only. scoring between 85 to 100, person has very strong internal locus of control. So everything is in his hands. Internal locus of control means the person decides his own life, his own fate. Whatever success or whatever life he's creating, he considers himself responsible. He doesn't believe in others. He doesn't believe in the external things, we can say. Very strong internal locus of control. So this shows what kind of personality you are having. Now, uh, how to write this tests for interpretation. Here again we'll see how to write the test for interpretation. As you see, the test has the aim, the format for writing your practical notebook. There is a particular format, so there has to be a title. So you have to mention the title or name of that practical. Then you have to write the aim or objectives. So what is the purpose for the practical? So for this, as this is the personality test, the objective will be to access the personality of the subject using locus of control test. So if you are using 16TF, with the help of using 16TF test. And hypothesis, when we are doing experiments, at that time only we have to write the hypothesis. Hypothesis means a tentative statement about the cause and effect relationship. So there will be independent variable and dependent variable also. Then introduction of the test, how the test was developed. Here you will be getting all the things in the manual of the test. Here locus of control will be getting all the things mentioned in the locus of control test. So what the concept is, so everything related to here you have to write how the test, how the personality, because as this test is of personality related, you have to write how the concept of personality was developed, which theorist actually developed this concept of personality. Different personality theories we have to write. The definitions of personality we have to write, different theories related to it. So introduction will include all the theories of personality, and then locus of control, how Rotter actually developed the concept of locus of control, what are the types of locus of control. These things we have to introduce or write in introduction. Then we have to describe the test, your details related to the test, just like who is the author of the test, the basic purpose of the test, what are the number of items which are used in the test, what dimension of factors. Here we can say number of items are 20. Dimensions of factor, two factors are there in the test. What is the time limit required? What is the reliability? What is the validity? How the scoring is being done? How the interpretation is being done. This is actually required for the test. Then what is the material required? All these headings are there. What are the material required for the administration of the test? So here we can see the text booklet is there, answer sheet is there, the scoring key is there, manual of the test is required, the pencil and eraser is also required, and you might be requiring what we can say, one screen which is between you and the subject, so the subject will not able to see whatever things you are writing about the subject or whatever points you are writing in front of the subjects. Then the participant's profile. Here, what the subject's profile is about, the detailed information about the subject, the demographic details. Here, we are not supposed to mention the full name. You have to just write the initials, or you can just write XYZ, because the name of the subject is supposed to be kept confidential. Before starting of the test also, you are supposed to share with the subject that all the details will be kept confidential, and it will be used only for research purpose, only for testing purpose. So in if he is still, the person is hesitant to share his name, even when you'll be giving the reports, when you'll be mentioning the reports, please don't write the full name or the real name of the subject. Just write the initials, or if possible just write ABC, or just write XYZ of the participant. Then you have to write the age, gender, the educational qualification. What is the occupation? The occupation is the person is a student, so you can write occupation of a student. Hmm? So this is the what basic profile of the participant or the subject. Then the procedure and the administration of the test, how the preparation has been done, material which is required for the conduction of the test, that is the text booklet is required. Apparatus, here we can see the tools. The tools are actually required for the test. So if your actually testing is there, so the test booklets, answer sheets are required, stopwatch is actually required, paper, pencil is required. Then rapport building has to be done with the participant. So you have to mention that how the rapport was created with the participant and how he was informed about the details of the test. Instructions as given in the test manual. So in the manual, whatever instructions have been given. Precautions. So if there are any precautions to be considered while the administration of the test, precautions might be okay. You are informing the participant that all the things will be kept confidential. The subject is told that he is not actually told not to open the textbook list or the answer sheets before the experimenter actually tells him to open to. You have to assure him that his name also will not be actually mentioned in the test, so that he'll be totally assured a rapport has been built. Again, in the precautions, uh, you are supposed, means if he is not able to understand certain questions, you can explain the questions again to him in detail. So simple precautions, many times in the manual itself the precautions are mentioned. Then introspective report, this is very important. After completion of the test by the participant, an introspection report is to be prepared. So here, how what the participant was feeling. So you can actually mention how the subject was feeling when he was giving the test, or how when he entered the cubicle, what his feelings were there. While giving the test, what his feelings were there, we can say. How he actually cooperated with you, how he was feeling after giving the test, all these things can be mentioned. Observation, we can say, personal observation of the subject. Then scoring and interpretation. After the participant completes the test, the answer sheet is to be scored with the help of the manual or the scoring key. So as I have mentioned about how to score the locus of control, so you can actually score it in a very easy way. The data is to be interpreted with the help of norms given in the manual. The scores have to be mentioned. So here we can see the raw data. So maybe the raw data is the subject has scored about 83. So this is the, you have to mention this is the raw score measured, scored by the subject, and then the interpretation. As per the interpretation, what does 83 mean? So even when some of the subjects will be like, you tell us the scoring, you have to tell them, okay, I'll be telling you the scoring later on. In front of the subjects, you are not supposed to do any of the scoring. So when you'll meet them, or actually tell them on the telephone also, this is the scoring. You are not supposed to tell the raw score. You are supposed to tell the interpretation. Many times it is high or low, but you can tell the subject that okay, it was an average kind. So what kind of person he is. So maybe 83 is showing that he has internal locus of control. This I'm just giving an example. We can see. So you have to just tell them, okay, internal is locus of control, and what does that mean? You have to mention it. Again, the scores have to be mentioned and interpreted against the under the heading, and they have to be analyzed. Hmm. Then in the discussion part, you have to discuss the results based on the interpretation. So what is the interpretation? It is average, it is high, it is low. So why the interpretation has been done in that way? So here we can say we have to analyze. So for this, you have to actually talk to the subject in detail. Maybe why he's internal for related to the what we can say related to the subject only. You could have asked certain questions before taking in the case history itself. Okay, what kind of person the subject is, whether he believes in luck, whether he believes in hard work, whether he believes that whatever success he has got in his life, it is due to which reasons. So from that actually you can interpret the results, because it might happen the subject might say, okay, I believe in my hard work and all, but the results might be it shows that he is having external locus of control. So here again, it shows that the subject is not telling us the truth, but we can't go and accuse the subject about it. We have to actually give a basic good analysis of it. Conclusion. In this, you have to conclude the findings of the test. Again, you have to give the references about the books, the websites, and the manual which was referred by you. And it should be mentioned in American Psychological format, Association format, APA format. So here we can say References has to be written in this way. Books. So if it is a book, so as you see, the surname has to be written first. There has to be a comma. The name, only the first initial has to be mentioned with a full stop. Into bracket, the year of the book, the publication year of the book has to be mentioned. Bracket complete, again a full stop. The name of the book, here it is written psychological testing, and it is into italic. Again, there is a full stop. And publication. So where is the publication from? It is from the city name London, and the publisher company is Macmillan Company. So in this way, the reference of book is to be written. This is the APA format style. We have actually used any journal online. So you can mention the journal in this way. Again, the surname of the author, a comma, the initial, first initial, again full stop, the year of that journal, again into brackets, bracket complete, full stop. Name of that article, we can say, full name of that article, full stop. Name of the journal, the name of the journal is Organizational Dynamics, comma over here. And you have to mention here 13 is actually volume number 13. So you have to just mention volume VOL dot 13 and comma, and again 20 to 24 are the page numbers. We have to mention the page numbers and full stop after that. So in this way, the journal name also can be, reference can be mentioned and written. How to write a chapter from a book? Again over here, the surname is there, comma, the initials with full stop, the year of publication of that book, the name of the book, then the after the name of the book, full stop is there. And over here we can say the place of the city. The publication is done from New Delhi, Diva Books. So the publication name of that book. The book chapter is over here. How to mention the website? You can just mention the website in this way, or actually you can mention the name. Okay, what was the website used for? Which was the topic for the website used for? And on which date it was accessed. So this is the format by which you can write the references. The references has to be very much correct because there are marks given for the references also. So this is about how to write your report. I just gave an example about locus of control. So now we'll continue with our another topic of 16PF. 16PF was developed by Cattle. I think you have the 16PF. You can actually solve this experiment if you just go to the link and you can get it solved. So when you go for this experiment, 16PF. So I'll just share the questionnaire related to 16PF. 16PF was developed by Cattle again. So we'll try to understand the questions, how this 16PF was developed. So Cattle was working with Spearman, finding out the intelligence test. Later on, he applied this factor analysis to find the basic elements of personality structure. In 1949, 16PF questionnaire, the first edition was published. Then later on in 1952, the first edition of 16PF was released in Great Britain. Earlier, it was released in United States. 1953, the first publication of high school personality questionnaire. And again, it is related to 16PF. It was released. In 1962, the third edition of 16PF was released. So these are all the chronicle list about the development of the tests. In 2000, re-standardization of the 16PF was done with fifth edition, we can say. So now you can solve this 16PF test online also. So there is, if you go online, you can actually solve the 16PF test and get the scoring of yourself. So here, if we just try to understand 16PF, so your name is 16PF. So this measures 16 normal adult personality dimensions. So again, this is the personality test. It actually measures personality dimension of adult human being. So different aspects are there. So warmth, what aspects we can actually measure? Warmth is there, reasoning is there, emotional stability, dominance, liveliness, consciousness, social boldness, sensitivity, vigilance, abstractedness, privateness, apprehensiveness, openness to change, self-reliance, perfectionism, tensions. So all these things have been measured. Now, how to go for this? Because later on, this 16 PF was again reduced to certain other factors. If you just go for the description of the test, so it is a non-verbal type of test which can administered individually or in a group. Age group is 16 years and upwards. So here again, there are several variations as per the groups. So for 12 to 15 years, high school personality questionnaire is there. For 8 to 11 years, child's personality questionnaire is there. For 8 to 11 years, child's personality questionnaire is there. You have to mention all these things when you will be writing the description of the test. From 6 to 7 years, the early school personality questionnaire was developed, and for 4 to 6 years, preschool personality questionnaire is being used. So there are different forms A, B, C, and D. So there is a difference between these forms A and B. So here actually it is difficult for you to understand what these forms are, how the scoring is being done. So but for you, you can do it on the computerized scoring. We can say a computerized test. You have to just solve the test and do it. In the forms A and B, 10 to 13 items are provided for each scale. In form C and D, there are 8 items for factor B, 7 items for motivational distortion scale, and 6 items for the remaining factors. So a lot of factors are there as we have seen. How the administration has to be done. So it can be self-administered, it can be given to individuals or groups also. These are the scoring. I will just see actually what the questions of the test are. I'm just trying to open the slides, the files in which the questions are mentioned. The instructions are here. questions are there'll be a statement and there are answers for it from strongly disagree to strongly agree, strongly disagree, disagree, neither agree, not disagree, agree, and strongly agree. So there'll be questions like, I take time out for others, I know that I am not a special person. So there are about uh, 165 questions or 163 questions, and you have to score each and every question with the answers from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So here you have to go online and actually give answers for this, and how to actually do the scoring for this is scoring is from 0. Here we can see, I don't know why the sharing is not being done. So 16 personality test. So there are certain primary factors. We'll try to understand the primary factors first. So person is getting less score in the primary factor of warmth. So here it is related to form A, warmth. So if the person is getting low score, it shows that the person is impersonal, distant, cool, or reserved, detached, formal, and aloof. Person is getting high score or high range, it shows the person is warm, outgoing, attentive to others, kind, easygoing, participating, likes people. So in this way, the primary factors with low range and high range I explained. So warmth is there, reasoning with form B is there, emotional stability is there, dominance is there, liveliness is there, rule consciousness is there, social boldness is there, sensitivity is there, vigilance is there, abstractedness is there, privateness is there, apprehension, then openness to change, self reliance, perfectionism, and tension. So, these are the various um, primary factors which are measured in 16 personality, and it is related to both high range and low range, and it describes the personality traits of any person. Scoring will be as per the what we can say, as per the scoring key, or if you are actually having if you are just do it computerized, you can directly get the score. You just go online and click this link which is given, and you can actually solve this questionnaire of 16 pf. So this is about 16 pf, and as for the format which was given to you earlier, you can write out the way you're supposed to actually write the practicals. So this is about 16 pf. I hope you must have understood it. And then we'll go to the next, which is called as the halo effect. The next experiment, which is called as the halo effect, we can see. Halo effect is there. So as the name is there, halo. Halo means actually, I'll try to just share the screen again. I'm not able to share the screen basically. Halo effect, if we see, as the name is there, halo means earlier this we actually see a lot of um, leaders or a lot of religious figures, they have a round bright circle behind them. That is actually called the halo. And halo effect, basically we have this impression formation. So once we see a person, just looking at the person, we have our first impression. The first impression, we many times say first impression is the last impression, and just by looking at the person, we analyze what type of person that might be. The person, we think the person looks in this way, the person might be having some good characteristics or some negative characteristics. We don't know basically the person. We just have a first look at that person, and we actually analyze, or we just think in our own way. So we can say there is cognitive bias about the person. So this is actually, in other simple terms, it is called as a halo effect. So we see a person who is well looking, well groomed, and we think this is a very nice person. So somebody comes and tells us this person is not good, and we are like, no, no, I had a very good experience. I am just think by looking at this person, this person seems to be a very nice person. So we have a positive impression of this person. And if somebody comes and asks you, we don't have any personal interaction with the person or personal experience, so we always tell, no, no, this person looks to be very nice, seems to be very genuine. So this person is very nice. In real, we don't have the real information of that person, or maybe we have not actually in a person we have talked to that person also, but we have our own impression of that person. So having a positive or a negative effect can be called as a halo effect. So mostly this experiment of halo effect was first described in 1920 by Edward Thorndike, and since then we can say Thorndike was the first to conduct this experiment on halo effect. Since then, lot of experiments have been done about it. So the external or the physical appearance, we can say, it serves as the basis for personal qualities. This is also, we can say, a personality related experiment. So we just analyze a person just looking at his physical or external appearance. So it was seen that any person, it might be a male, it might be a female, just we look at a physically attractive person and we think the person might be having very desirable internal quality. So with very good personality, the person will be very competent person where he's having highly potential and all, more than a homely looking person. Here we look at the external physical appearance of the person and we just have a judgment about it. So in this is a very simple experiment in which a group of people, the subjects were there, and the subjects were given a list of traits, we can say. So earlier, a list of positive traits were given, and they were actually told, okay, this is the kind of person you have to judge another type of person. So group of 16, you can have your own group of subjects. So maybe one subject is kept in front of you, and you are shown the person, some other person, maybe on a screen or just in front of them. They don't know the person, and they are just given a list of 10 qualities given in front of them. So they are just given the qualities of the person, they have been written on a list of paper. List of qualities is written, and it is mentioned from positive to negative. So here, starting the first qualities are very much positive, and then slowly the qualities actually they turn out to be negative. So here, many times in the first list, mostly give the positive qualities only. The first 10 qualities should be positive. And when the person reads these positive qualities and then tell the person to, okay, you have seen this person, you are able to see this person. Now tell us how, what exactly you think about this person. So actually, when the subject is there and he's thinking, acha, this person, his appearance is this way and all, so mostly they rate the person as very nice. Mostly it is that way. Then give them a second list which just consists about the negative qualities. So first, qualities in the sense there'll be adjectives which starting maybe 7 to 8 adjectives are describing the person in a very positive way. Maybe the later on in the first list the objectives or the adjectives or the traits are negative. In the second list, now reverse it. Now give mostly the negative traits first, up to 7 items, and then later on you mention the positive traits. So it was seen, see, earlier when the experiment was done, it was seen that as for the first list, the first list was actually the positive, which were describing the positive traits of the person. So when they saw this person again with the negative traits, they were only giving the description of the person in a positive way only. So it is the this way, like, okay, we see a person, we are thinking the person from a positive point of view only. Later on, if somebody comes and tells us, no, no, this person is this way or the person is this way, they keep on telling us the negative traits or the negative things about that person. We are still not ready to believe the negative aspects of the person. So when you try to do this experiment on the subject and just see what the results are. So in this way, you can actually see the halo effect experiment. So in this way, we are able to are able to complete all the topics. Social learning theory, social cognitive theory, we can say various theories of intelligence. Then interviewing the older adult, locus of control, then cattle 16 PF test, halo effect, experiment. You have to write all these things in the journal. The experiments are locus of control, 16 PF, halo effect experiment, also interviewing of an older adult. So all these things are actually you have to write in the journal and complete the journal within the given time. If any questions are there, you can ask me the questions in the chat box.